What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. A little bit more cheery than the last one. I don't think there's any ranting going on in today's episode. It was just honestly pretty whatever series against the Diamondbacks. The Mets end up splitting 2 of the 4 against Arizona. There were some games they looked good. There were some games they looked bad. They had a win that almost got blown, up 5 runs. Some questionable decision-making by Carlos Mendoza late in games as well. We'll talk about everything as we always do. Of course, make sure you follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you want to see the YouTube version of this, go subscribe to the Mets'd podcast. We did just drop our top 10 prospects for the season. If you guys did not see that, it's because you're not over on YouTube. So make sure you go subscribe over there so you don't miss out on any of the exclusive content there. And if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. We really do appreciate you. James, last episode before the boys are another continent. This is a big test for not only you being out of the States and seeing how the Mets play, but also me. I'm excited to get out to Scotland and England for the London series at some point and watch some Mets baseball over there. But right now, we got to talk about the Diamondbacks. How we feel about this series?
It's kind of like you said, a super just whatever, because the first 2 games were awesome, and then there were a lot of good vibes heading into the Darryl Strawberry number retirement ceremony on Saturday, a game in which the Mets got mollywopped, got just completely murdered. And then Sunday, you feel like you're going to get this win. You're going to win the first series at Citi Field since April. You're going to finally be able to cross that off the list. And then just for some reason, Jake Diekman, the lefty, comes in for the save against Ketel Marte, who's a significantly better right-handed hitter and left-handed hitter, for the second time in the game. Then Ketel Marte hits a home run off a left-handed pitcher. The Diamondbacks win. Paul Sewald gets his revenge, part 2. He pitches again, but does another save against the Mets, and you're kind of just feeling the same way you've been feeling. If the Mets go in 3 out of 4 this series against defending National League champs, a team that's had a similar disappointing start to the year, a team that also feels a little disjointed, a team that's highly beatable, and we showed that the first couple games of the series, would be feeling really good right now. But it's just again, snatching defeat from the clutches of victory.
Yeah, bringing in Diekman there made no sense. I know this bullpen isn't deep, especially now with Diaz not being there and Drew Smith still on the IL, which completely forgot about Drew Smith, by the way. When's he coming back? Have we heard an update about him at all?
Yeah, this series he was active.
Okay. So, wait, he was?
Yes.
He pitched?
And I don't think he pitched, but I think Sunday might have been the day he was activated.
Okay. Because I was like, I don't remember him pitching at all. That's kind of crazy to me. But in the same time, Ketel Marte owns left-handed pitching. He's actually struggled against right-handed pitchers this year. He's been a league average hitter. We know that OPS at 680 makes you a league average. That's what he's been against right-handed pitching. Left-handed pitching, 950 OPS. That was a head scratcher. Makes no sense from any way that you look at it, the process, the thought, anything. And like you said, the Diamondbacks bullpen did just shut us down in that last game because we actually hit Brandon Pfaadt pretty well. JD Martinez with the triple, Brandon Nimmo with the triple. There were some good things going on there, but that's it's also been the tale of the Mets this season too. They don't really play full, complete games. They hit for 3 or 4 innings and then they disappeared.
I actually don't think they hit Pfaadt well at all. I watched this game. I was on this game tracking it and writing updates for it on Roto World, but Pfaadt looked awesome, literally besides for 3 straight batters in that 4th inning whenever he gave up the triples to Nimmo and
3rd inning,
yeah. And also just want to say Ketel Marte this year in 89 at-bats against left-handed pitching, he has 9 home runs. In 144 at-bats against right-handed pitching, he has 3 home runs.
Nice.
So that was a clear, that's just, again, not a good decision. I don't know who the better option was. I don't think you want Drew Smith's first appearance off the IL to be in a situation where you're going to close, but I also kind of wish that maybe you just realign the rest of the guys. I know Reed Garrett, for some reason, keeps struggling specifically in the 9th inning. Yeah. So maybe they didn't want to do that anymore. Vientos also has blown saves recently, so throw him in the 8th inning, take some pressure off. Maybe just let Dednell Nunez get a save opportunity. Maybe let Danny Young get a save opportunity.
You know who would have been a good guy to get an opportunity to get that save in the 9th inning?
Who?
Well, Jorge Lopez.
I guess he probably would have gotten that say. Again, we can talk about. I don't even know talk about that. It is. I don't know. We'll rehash that for a second. It's going to be a bit of a chaos episode for the boys here, just because Mark's in a rush. He's going to the airport soon.
Yeah.
So we're it's not going to be the usual hour 15 marathon we like to give you guys. But before we talk about the series, 2 minutes. Do you think Jorge Lopez deserved to be released?
No. Especially when we know that he was misquoted and that again, if you listen to it and we put the clip in the last episode, it does sound like he said, "I am the worst teammate," not "I am the worst team in Major League Baseball." So to me, especially now knowing what was going on off the field too with Jorge Lopez, how his son needs that transplant and he's living in Cincinnati and there's a lot of stress going on there. Shout out Boomer Esiason for bringing that to light on his radio show. Just felt it felt like a weird hill to die on. I don't know. It felt like the Mets really overreacted to this, especially because Jorge Lopez has been pretty good this year and probably has value to this team and will have value at the trade deadline. And you're just DFAing him because he got misquoted by Steve Gelbs. Feels weird. Don't understand it. Didn't like the move.
I mean, it was all because of the glove thing. Throwing the glove on the field, that's unprofessional. That's a temper tantrum. You don't
But
want to have
also,
temper
like,
tantrums. No,
whatever.
but I'm saying, like, I don't know. Maybe I don't think one temper tantrum should get you kicked off a team that probably could use a reliever. But again, just going back to the way that we use the relievers in this game, it just maybe like I don't know, like get Drew Smith one of those innings early so you can push everybody back instead of Danny Young or Dedno Nunez. Dedno Nunez also, I think, for sure has some stuff.
Think so.
I'm
Okay.
starting to believe he's another guy who probably now can stay in this bullpen for a little while and then wind up pitching well. Threw more sliders and fastballs in this game. It was an 87-mile-an-hour slider that got up to 90 miles an hour. His fastball got up to 98 and had pretty good life on it. Slider had a lot of drop on it, a nice little like tight gyro slider that falls off the table. He's got some good stuff there. Same with Danny Young. Danny Young was also throwing way harder this game when you're used to seeing him throwing.
Yeah.
He's usually like an 88, 89 mile an hour guy. He was getting that sinker up to 91, 92 on Sunday. And again, looked really good in these first couple appearances since he came back from the minor leagues. I think he was the actual roster move maybe for Jorge Lopez. But
I believe so.
again, they just kind of keep running out of stuff. And just a game where again, like it feels like they kind of hit Brandon Pfaadt hard, but Brandon Pfaadt missed a lot of bats, and Brandon Pfaadt had 8 strikeouts in I think the 5 or 6 innings that he pitched.
Yes.
But it's just for some reason the Mets can only score runs this one time. Bang,
Yes,
one inning.
that's it.
They
Yeah.
had these back-to-back hits this inning. They drove in another one, and now it's all over. All the fun's up. All the fun's up.
And the problem too with this game as well, and the bullpen and the lack of offense is that Jose Quintana gave us 4 innings as well. Like the fact that he couldn't even make it to a 5th completely changes how you have to use this bullpen because now you have to stretch guys out. You have to try and get extra outs out of dudes. This has been the frustrating thing with Jose Quintana. Outside of that one really good start he's made this year against what was it, St. Louis, where he went 8? Yeah, which again, and now they're kind of hot, but they've been one of the worst teams in baseball too. He's been a huge problem in this rotation, Jose Quintana. He just consistently goes out there and doesn't pitch well, which is the exact opposite of what we've been hoping for.
Yeah, especially when he came back out for that 4th inning. That was right. I just remember that the Diamondbacks had men on base and men on base and men on base. The top of the 4th was right after the Mets had their rally to take the lead. So you're like, okay, nice. You just had your first scoreless inning, Jose Quintana. Now you can get into this game, maybe just now drift into the 6th like we're used to veteran Jose Quintana doing. So you can save this bullpen and we can have as many options and weapons that we need to get through this 9th inning because a guy like Ketel Marte, again, if he faces a lefty, you're going to be in trouble. But he just didn't do that. The Diamondbacks had men on immediately. The Mets had to warm the bullpen in that 4th inning. Dedno Nunez actually got up before actually coming into the game. And it was just like, this is the kind of thing that you want a veteran reliever, veteran starting pitcher on your team to alleviate, not make worse. And him getting chased in that inning, letting men on base, basically every single inning he pitched, and just not being comfortable to really doing anything well in another start is a problem. It's hard to do that every 5th day, every 6th day, I guess, in the Mets case, and then expect to keep winning these games.
Yeah, no, it was definitely frustrating to not be able to win the series. Like you said, would have been the first time since April for the Mets to win a series at Citi Field at home, and they completely just let the Diamondbacks off the hook, which is it's annoying, but that's been the Mets season this year. Can't scream and yell about it more than we did the last game. Some of the other games to talk about, let's just run it back to the start of the series where the Mets actually won that game, coming off of the players only meeting. I don't know what was going on, but the Mets vibes were better. The first 2 games of the series, the Mets looked like they were having fun. Yeah, they're doing the slap ass celebration, which like whatever gets these guys loose and playing well, I'm for. I know they ended up tying the series, but like those first 2 games, you saw like, oh my God, baseball, fun, excitement. Team is playing well. Lindor 4 for 4 in game 1, which was huge to see. He's been so good since moved up to the leadoff spot. I think he has the most F4 in baseball since that arbitrary day that he's been moved up to the leadoff spot, which is great. Starting Marte even swing the bat well after I called him one of the worst outfielders in baseball. So whatever it takes, just get it going.
It's funny, too, when we talk about that, just, again, be a little more of a narrative episode. Lindor's been amazing since we moved him to leadoff, but Brandon Nimmo's been horrific in the 3-hole. Brandon Nimmo is up to basically a 50% strikeout rate. I think his triple on Sunday was only his second, I can't remember, I just had the stat, his second or third extra base hit since getting moved down to 3-spot in the lineup. So maybe there's just this hex on the Mets hit number 3 hitter in the lineup where it can't work, but it's just, again, it's a shame with Alonso, Lindor, and Nimmo. Now that Alonso and Lindor are hitting really well, even J.D. Martinez hitting really well in the 4-hole, for some reason now Brandon Nimmo, it's untenable. His average has dropped down to 210, nearly 50% strikeout rate again since getting moved down to 3-spot in the order. And now he's becoming a major issue down there where we have these rallies and they can't do it. Even Starling Marte is hitting the crap out of the ball again. But It's just you can't. Nothing is clicking at the same time for this team in any way,
No.
shape, or form ever. Even the game on Thursday after the players only meeting, they're like, "Oh my god, the players only meeting. We're feeling great." They went down 2-0 in this game and
Yeah.
didn't even win until they scored individual runs in the 7th and 8th inning because of a Herculean performance by Francisco Lindor, his best game of the year. We raised his batting average 20 points in one game alone. I think 60 OPS points from this to his first step out on Friday night. So it's just that he's back to like where he normally is at like a little below where he normally is, like a 110 WRC plus in the season. But even after they talked about his players only meeting so much and they harped on it in the post game press conferences, this was a game they won again, somewhat miraculously. Again,
And it took Zach Gallen facing one batter and coming out after 6 pitches. So the
yeah,
bullpen for the Diamondbacks was on the ropes in a long series immediately. And they still couldn't even really like make or
take
capitalize on the
advantage.
fact that Gallen gets pulled from the game early, which this team's offense, man, it's frustrating. But on the pitching side, your boy Christian Scott on the mound. Tell the people how you were feeling after that start.
I almost just like can't even really talk about it because he immediately got sent down to the minors after this one, which like I know it's like circumstantial why he got sent
Yeah.
down in the minor leagues. I was just frustrated on Twitter that morning. I put out a bunch of memes from my account and from Mets'd about it. And everyone's like, well, actually, he's gonna get called up right after the London series, which I totally understand why he got
Yes.
sent down. But it's the fact that the Mets are splitting hairs over the guy who's objectively probably been with the with the Buffs Luis Severino starting Friday. But again, one of the 2 or 3 best starting pitchers in the rotation that they have in the entire organization healthy right now. So to see him get sent down after another one where again he was very solid. He again quickly gives up these runs early, but then he comes back very hard, just throwing fastballs. The only thing about Scott that keeps happening that's concerning for me, and it's this thing I was concerned about in spring training and the offseason when I talked about him, is that you guys are seeing now with his command, it's control over command. Wait,
No.
yes,
Yes.
control over command, where he's no longer really getting the swings and misses on the off speed stuff. And he's getting them on the fastball, but that's because people are just teeing off on that fastball. Diamondback swung at 29 of the fastballs that Christian
Jeez.
Scott threw the other day in 48 total pitches. And they were in the zone a lot, 60% of the time. He always hangs out in the zone. It's nearly 60% zone rate, is way above the league average. But people are taking hacks at this pitch because they know it's going to be in the strike zone. And then that same thing is happening with even the sweeper, the split change, and the gyro slider. So since he's not really able to nab corners with those pitches, and they're all still above average pitches in terms of stuff, they still keep creating out well. I think since he's been getting hit a little bit harder, people are taking a little more shots at stuff, but it just comes back to where these pitches are. And if you look at the heat maps of this, he just keeps throwing these pitches right in the plate. And it doesn't get hurt as much as it should get hurt because of how good the stuff is. So this is like the modicum of sanity, like the save for myself. Like you're going back down the minor leagues, maybe makes one start there for 4 innings, and it's just find a way to like hit some more corners and edges with these pitches. But it's also like you see a game on Sunday and Christian Scott's miles better than Jose Quintana.
Oh,
He
yeah.
gives you a significantly better chance to win a game than Jose Quintana, and probably also David Peterson. But it's just the fact that he has the option. They want to save some innings, and then they have these extra off days to the London trip, so he gets sent down. But yeah, frustrating to wake up to that news on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, at least we know that was Omar Narvaez's last game ever as a New York Met. They DFA'd him after that game on Thursday. We acquired Luis Torrens from the Yankees, who made his debut, I believe, for the Mets this weekend on Sunday. Omar Narvaez, it wasn't happening for him. And Francisco Alvarez has been rehabbing in Binghamton, so the time is coming. Francisco Alvarez might be back for the London series, right? That's the thought. He could be back.
Yeah, it's the rumor going around. Also, Torrens has a connection with Mendoza from the minor leagues, and Narvaez talked about last week. One of the worst stretches that we've ever seen a major
Ever.
leaguer have in 30 game sample to have -1 WAR. I looked it up on StatHead. There was like I wanted to find a tweet about it, but there was I think 100 other players in the history of Major League Baseball that had done that, so it wasn't relevant enough for a tweet, but relevant enough for a comment on the podcast that what we just saw, guys, was generational bad play from someone making what $7.5 million.
Too much money, way too much money. Shout out the Mets bullpen, Hauser, Danny Young, and Reed Garrett for closing it out. They didn't allow a hit after they came in for Christian Scott. And again, the Mets fought back for that one. Francisco Lindor put the team on his back, and they get that win. Now, for probably the most interesting game of the series, game 2, 10-9 win against the Diamondbacks. Should have been a lot easier, but boy, oh boy, did it get interesting in the 9th inning when Reed Garrett came in. Like you said, having those weird struggles in the 9th, giving up back-to-back nukes to Jock Peterson and Christian Walker, which was made it a little bit scary going into the game, into the 9th with a 5-run lead, and then all of a sudden it's a 1-run game. You're like, what's happening here? And am I right? Reed Garrett fastball again on those home runs?
Reed Garrett fastball on the home runs. Let's see.
I think at least Christian Walker was. He threw that thing right down the middle.
Yeah, I was seeing stars during that inning, so I wasn't really thinking about it. But Yeah, one was a cutter, one was a fastball.
Okay.
So like very similar, but still throwing mostly splitters and that. But still, he didn't throw one splitter in the strike zone. He got two whiffs on it, both the swings outside the strike zone. But it's just, again, it's so touch and go right now. Reed Garrett, you can see the excitement in him when he had his clean inning on Sunday. He'd be like, "All right, nice, I'm still here, I'm still here, I'm still here," because he is still here, even though he had this horrible inning on Friday. Everything I said in the last episode, I think holds true that he's still an above average reliever, but right now it feels like it swung back more because of the Reed Garrett we saw last
Yeah.
year compared to the Reed Garrett we saw in April. He's not as good as the guy in April. He's not as bad as the guy from last year at anywhere close. He's still a very good reliever, but it's such a weird mix. And the fact that he did lead with splitters in this one, he only got through 8 pitches just because they were jumping all over everything. But yeah, it doesn't seem like he's this is a weird thing to say. But I'm gonna try to find a way to say it
Okay.
without like trying to be mean to Reed Garrett, because I respect Reed Garrett. I think he's a really valuable part of this bullpen. But he just doesn't seem like the ninth inning is his home.
That's fair.
It's not where he seems the most comfortable. Same with Jake Diekman, same with Adam Ottavino. It just seems like right now this bullpen's dying for somebody to step up. And it seemed like it could have been Reed Garrett, but it definitely has not been.
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem like the closer role is necessarily fit for him. On the offensive side for the Mets, every single player had a hit for the Mets in this game. This was also the Mets debut of Jose Iglesias, because of course we know Beatty sent down, bring up Jose
Cantalita.
Iglesias as well to help out with this. He's fine. He's whatever. He's someone that we talked about in spring training, starting to show a little more pop, showed a little bit more in Syracuse as well. We need a middle infielder. If Francisco Lindor ever got hurt during a game or whatnot, it would have been like Jeff McNeil playing shortstop or even Brett Beatty when he was on the team. So to have Jose Iglesias around, probably just the most sensible thing for this organization to do. Also, shout out Mark Vientos. Playing really good baseball again, continuing to hit. The fielding has been fine. It's been totally fine. But at the plate, he's been
Acceptable.
really good. And he's looked like a major league hitter.
You could feel the urgency that he's playing with as well. There was a ball, I think it was the Ketel Marte double down the line on Sunday where it was just out of the reach of Vientos. It seemed like he more dove over it and just kind of missed the ball. And it's a tough play to make. I don't think anyone expected Mark Vientos to get dirty and make that play, but the sheer anger on his face, pounding the ground after he missed that ball, where he feels like every play he makes is up against the wall. And that's kind of a nice thing to see for somebody on this Mets team, because we've kind of chastised them throughout the season for being like not lackadaisical at time, but just like taking the wait and see, let's take an easy approach. We know we're better than this approach. Where you have a guy like Vientos who's now been playing with his head on fire because he wants this job and he wants this role and he wants to prove he belongs. And the second that Beatty gets sent down, you see him take that deep breath. You see that comfortability. He gets 3 hits on Friday, 2 RBIs. He hits a monster home run on Saturday. The game was out of the reach, but still just showing off his power on a hanging slider to the second deck, which we very rarely see home runs up there. I can't remember a Met besides Cespedes and Pete ever hitting a ball up there. So I think that's relevant that he got one there. But again, just moving around a little bit. Nice to see Vientos comfortable. But back to the game on Friday, because this felt like for a little bit the moment of, okay, holy shit, we turned the corner.
Yes.
We did it. You said everybody in the lineup had a hit. Everyone in the lineup even had a hard hit ball. We were smoking Jordan Montgomery. We forced Jordan Montgomery in the third inning of this game to stop throwing sinkers. The pitch he's thrown literally his entire career has made him the pitcher that he is. And then Logan Allen comes in, and we're hitting the crap out of him as well, over and over and over again. Every single ball in play, smoke, smoke, smoke. But the Diamondbacks did a really good thing in letting Logan Allen sop up those innings. Only give up those 2 earned runs. Again, not saying kept them in the game, but they still weren't totally out of it because of the runs they scored early off Severino. Sherman let some guys on base, and then Reed Garrett gives up the big home runs, and you're like, this fucking can't be happening again.
I mean, we know what game we're having flashbacks to when that was going on, where the Mets are up 5 going into the 9th inning, and then they end up blowing it. But thank goodness they didn't. Severino looked at, and maybe I'm wrong for saying this, he wasn't sharp, but for him to pitch as well as he did was like gutsy. That's the kind of thing that like makes you feel good about Severino, is that like he wasn't good, but he also didn't blow up in his face.
Yeah, again, that's like it's a Pyrrhic victory. We're not really why say it's great that he didn't blow up in this one, because he did give up those runs right off the bat, and this might be a situation where
we do have some context
Severino,
too, though.
Yeah,
he said that he felt sick. He thought he was going to like throw up. I think before the game, he said he didn't feel great, was feeling sick, and was eating gummies in the dugout in between innings to try and get more energy and feel better. So I think that also could be part of the reason, because again, it really was just kind of that rough first inning for him, and then he did settle in.
And his velocity was down across the board, up to like a mile and a half, mile an hour across different pitches. But it's just another start for Severino where it's such a heavy diet of the four seamers and the sinkers with the sweeper mixing in, but not that many swings and misses. We haven't seen the changeup as much as I would have hoped to at this point in the season. See the changeup, so get him off the hook against lefties a little bit. Same with the cutter, and he probably does need to find a slight adjustment here because when he's throwing 95, 94 instead of what he throws usually 96 and 98, and it's just fastball sinker against the righties and the lefties, you're going to just get hit a little bit more like he was in this
Yeah.
one. So would like to see him adjust back when he isn't 100% like he was, especially like he's coming out in that first inning. Hefner's probably like, "Hey man, you're throwing two miles an hour down. Like, is there any, do you have any other weapons? Can you mix it up any other way?" And he didn't do it much. He gutted it out. He got to the sixth inning. The Diamondbacks got some across there and struggled, threatened again, but again, Dednell Nunez becoming a good reliever in this bullpen, nice cleanup man. He got out of it, and all in all, like it again, it's a win. But this was a moment where the Mets felt like could have changed their fortunes a little bit this season, and very much did not.
Yeah, no. Again, I talked about having fun and playing good baseball. They played great baseball to start the game, especially offensively, and then they almost blew it. And then that kind of carried into like the oh shit of the ninth inning, kind of carried into the next day, game three, where the Mets just got, for lack of a better term, like
Woofed.
mollywopped. They just got absolutely smoked. The confusing thing here, Shaw Mania had 10 strikeouts, but he gave up 5 earned. Like that's confusing to me. How do you explain that?
It's very easy to explain that one. It was because in the third inning of this game, Randall Grichuk was up with 2 outs and 2 men on, and Chum and I walked him on 4 pitches, and the next batter was Christian Walker, and Christian Walker hit a home run,
Yeah.
and that was it. That was the whole thing. Every single sequence of this game, besides that moment, Mania was good. He was in control. He got to 100 pitches in this game. He got into the sixth inning. I think it would have been the fifth time this year he would have completed the sixth inning, but he wound up not completing the sixth inning, and it was good. And then Josh Walker came in and got crushed. He just kind of had to clean up the mess, but it's a game for Manayo where he had the little 2-man thing working, and it was sinkers and sweepers, sinkers and sweepers, sinkers and sweepers. That 2-seamer is missing so many bats recently. It's been one of the most effective pitchers in baseball, which is a really nice sign for Sean Manayo, especially for his trade value. We're going to see maybe how that goes the next few
Yeah.
weeks here, but it was just this one horrible situation where it felt like he might have lost focus because it was a 4-pitch walk to Randall Grichuk. I believe it was a 4-pitch walk. I'll double check my work right now, but it's
You
just
can't walk him.
it was so obvious what was going to happen. Also, Christian Walker is a fantastic hitter. He crushes lefties, and it's just a moment where you have to do anything you can to make Randall Grichuk beat you. I know Randall Grichuk in his career is fantastic against left-handed pitching. Yeah, it was a 4-pitch walk, and
Yeah.
I remember a couple of the pitches, especially the fourth one, was a high sinker. It wasn't even close. Same with the second pitch he threw. So it's just like he's being extra careful with Randall Grichuk, and then all of a sudden Christian Walker comes in. And the first pitch of the at bat, it's a hanging sweeper down the middle, and it goes into the seats. And then there was no looking back for the Mets in this one.
No.
Also just sucks because it was such a nice ceremony for Darryl Strawberry.
Yeah, it
And a
was.
real shame the team laid this kind of an egg when they had all the old Mets in attendance, Darryl and his whole family there. Like, wonderful job by SNY and the Mets in putting on another great ceremony, but it's just frustrating to have a very bad game when that happens.
I will say the home run apple being changed to the strawberry was pretty awesome.
Incredible.
That was really good. Whoever thought of that, that was a
So
great
sick.
idea.
So sick. And I thought Darryl's speech was also amazing. He like just talked so much about the mistakes he made in his life. A big
Yep.
one being leaving the Mets and putting himself back in Los Angeles, where it probably wasn't the best spot for him to be at that time in life. And he went down and thanked everyone. He said Keith Hernandez was, I don't remember if he said the greatest player, or the greatest hitter that he ever saw. He said Keith taught me how to hit left-handed pitching, taught me how to be a man. He helped me learn to be a leader. The one thing that was interesting to me, my dad pointed this out today when I was talking to him, is that it seemed like Darryl, the only guy who didn't profusely thank from that team, because he did Mookie, it was Keith, Ron, Sid, but the Gary Carter, of course, Hojo, him and Hojo, he said the only two Mets teammates who go 30-30 ever in the same season, which is such a sick nugget.
That is
But
cool.
wasn't profuse about Doc.
Mm-mm.
Didn't really mention anything, and I think it's probably a situation where Darryl probably gets a little frustrated at this point in his life that he's always linked and forever connected to Doc because they came up together, both black baseball players, both wound up having legal and addiction issues over the time towards the end of their career, middle of their career, and both had these weird moments on the Yankees, weirdly enough. Darryl also strangely did the whole New York triumvirate in his
Yeah.
career, playing for the Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Giants. I think he
Yeah.
might be the only player to have ever done that, but that was one weird thing I noticed where I was like, oh, this is the one guy who seems like he didn't really want to include in the speech.
No. I don't know exactly what the terms of their relationship are, but I told and like now that Darryl has kind of cleaned himself up a lot, like he's a pastor now, I believe, and he's like very much focused on like trying to help improve people's lives and like getting past
The
things
Lord.
and being involved with God and all that. I'm sure one, like you said, being associated with Doc relatively and like the downfalls of the two players, probably not a great feeling. And then two, just the idea that Doc is we know has had issues in the past recently, not like in the last like 6 months or anything like that, but in the last 5-10 years has struggled with the addiction, has struggled with issues legally. I'm sure it's just one of those things where it's a weird feeling because you almost know that you were a part of that too, because I mean they were
Yeah.
a part of it in a way.
No, again, but then it's also the idea that, like, for some reason now I'm linked to this person in
Yes.
perpetuity. Even the fact that their numbers were being retired in the same announcement in the
Yeah.
same season, a month and a half apart. It's just like, okay, so this is, this is my blood brother.
It's
They
probably just like
ESPN did a
a
documentary.
point of life where he's like, I'd like to forget about that. Like, and if I
Yes,
keep talking about Doc, I'm going to keep being reminded about how much of a shithead I used to be, kind of thing.
and how awful it was to see even Doc Volpar. I'm sure
Yeah.
someone who he was again. We don't know how close they actually were, but they're always associated in this same way. And again, it sucks the team lays an egg after a
Yeah.
really nice ceremony. Howie Rose, amazing, amazing
Master
as
of
always on the
ceremonies.
mic, master of ceremonies. But question for you:
Okay.
I got into some conversations with people on Twitter after this, but we've had this barrage of Mets number retirements and all this stuff about Mets history since Steve Cohen took over, and now this kind of feels like the end of the obvious ones.
Yeah.
Who's the next Met to get their number retired?
I mean, it's got to be David Wright. Like, I don't think
Okay.
there's any other choice, right? Because do you have
I said
somebody?
that I said that too, but a lot of people were like hardcore clamoring for Gary Carter on Twitter, which I think is just he. I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
think that I don't know if that people even care about these conversations, but it's like Darryl has Mets record. He was a Met for 8 years. Doc was a Met for 10 years. Had Mets records.
Gary's an
I
expo.
I
Like,
know he played like 15 years in the Expos and 5 on the Mets. Like it's
yeah.
just you can't really retire his number for 5 years with the team. I guess how many did Keith play? Probably about the same, but
Probably. I'll look at Keith real quick. This is probably us not understanding it because we weren't around during the '80s. Like we just simply weren't born, and we don't understand maybe what it was like to have Gary Carter be a part of the Mets. Keith was 7 years with the Mets, 10 with the Cardinals. But Gary also was a worse player with the Mets statistically than he was ever with the Expos, where Keith
of
like kind
course
of just kept on par with where he was with the Cardinals. It's got to be David Wright. The only thing is,
it has to be.
you're going to get into that weird scenario where I think David Wright isn't ready to be back yet. Like I think
Yes,
it's still way too fresh, and he should be like, I should be in my final season. I should be hanging it up right about now, kind of thing. Whereas, like Gary Carter, obviously you can retire that number at any time if you want to do so. The Mets seem like they probably want to retire a number a year for the next couple years. It looks like at least seems to be Steve Cohen's plan, but
there's
there's
not that
not
many
many
more
left.
options.
Yeah, I mean, like okay, let's just say those are the next two. Is there one after that? Like, do you retire Johan?
There's
No.
one.
Who am I
There's
forgetting?
one, and I don't
Oh,
think we're ready for the conversation yet, but I
is it
think we're
Ed
about 5
Kranepool?
years away. No,
Okay, who is it?
it's Jacob DeGrom.
Oh, yeah, but I mean,
But
he's still
that's
playing. He
another
just couldn't
one
do
that
it.
it's too we're too close, we're too soon, we're still too in it. I
Yeah,
don't think I think that a lot of Mets fans still have for some reason some ill will towards
yeah, I have
DeGrom,
0. Yeah,
despite I love him to death
he's
still. I always
awesome.
will.
Yeah,
But it's just I think there's still weird emotions for him having left. But still, and again, he only made 200 starts as a Met, where Doc even made 300.
yeah.
So like,
So
and
looking
Degrom
at
was better, of course, but
all-time WAR for the Mets, it's Tom Seaver, David Wright, Doc Gooden, Jacob DeGrom is number 4. So
yeah,
yeah, Jacob DeGrom should get his number retired at some point.
I think so.
This is gonna get some people really mad. Carlos Beltran
He can't. If he
can't
wins
do it,
that World
right?
Series, then yes, but
Can't
there's no
do it.
way.
Otherwise, you're just like retiring, just like a good player for 6 years.
That's what I'm saying. Like these guys, none of these numbers are retired if the Mets don't win a World Series in
Correct. Yeah,
1986.
yeah.
Like you have to honor teams that achieved great success. Like that's kind of the stopper. And that was what sucks about DeGrom. I still think he was so good that I'll get his number up and right, of course, but I just think when he's ready, he's talked about wanting his girls to be a little bit older so they can remember the ceremony and appreciate it. So maybe they'll wait like 5 or 6 years for that.
Yeah.
But
Ooh, last one.
like,
Do the Mets retire Jose Reyes' number?
fuck no.
No, I mean he's like one
I
of the
don't
best
think
hitters.
so.
I don't think they will. I don't think they should. But there's an argument at least to be had for Jose
Again,
Reyes' number to be retired.
if Jose Reyes, if 2016, like this is gonna make my this is gonna hurt so bad to say his words out loud. This is gonna take every single 10-year-old James is about to die
All
inside.
right, do it.
if the Mets win that World Series in 2006, they all get their numbers retired. They
Yeah.
do. Beltran probably gets his retired. Reyes gets his retired. Wright, of course, gets his retired. But they just didn't.
No.
Like, if the team wins, they do. Again, if the Mets win in 2000, Franco probably gets his retired. Oh, no. Yeah, no, he wasn't even the closer anymore. But again,
Yeah.
like, maybe if they win 98 or something, like, you have to have this tremendous achievement to get this tremendous accolade.
I'm with you.
And as the Mets to keep not winning World Series, like, why? We can only
Daniel Murphy.
Fuck no. Like, we have to retire guys' numbers that are worthy of retirement. I
No, I'm
even
with
think
you.
that Darryl and Doc were kind of on the edge. If you look at the types of players that other teams retire their numbers, like, I don't think that all 30 teams are retiring numbers with these kind of stats and accolades and historical significance.
All
But they were
30 teams
relevant. They
aren't
were,
losers like the Mets either. So
yeah, I'm saying that I think they become more historically significant because they won half of the championships with this team, and they were still, it's crazy to say because of how bad the Mets are at this, two of the best homegrown players they ever did develop.
no, yeah.
Despite their struggles and despite leaving, they still, statistically speaking, you can't get those guys out of the Mets record book. So that's why they get them, and they're revered by fans.
Yes.
But the Mets need something else good to happen to be worth retiring other guys' numbers.
Fair enough. I'm with you. You guys can let us know in the comment section or on Twitter or whatever if you think any other Mets players should get their number retired. You can let us know. Be a fun little thing to do. We talked about Game 4 already. Not really much else to go over there. Just a little bit of a disappointing way to lose the series, especially because it was preventable by not giving him the matchup he was hoping for. I really don't get it. The more and more I think about it, it makes no sense.
At all.
Especially,
I just get it because
Corbin Carroll was up next. Like, that's it, I guess.
But Corbin Carroll's been awful this season.
So bad. Let him put it on
you
a
can't
team.
plan for Corbin Carroll. You got to plan for Ketel Marte.
Yeah.
Ketel Marte has 12 home runs, and he's the best hitter in the team. But again, I think it came down to the fact that they just kind of ran out of relievers, and they weren't going to let Drew Smith's first appearance back be in the situation. But then why not make his first appearance back be in the sixth inning? I don't know. I thought this was a game that kind of got away from Mendoza, sadly.
Do we have any media marvels here before we get going into the series preview up next?
A handful. A few I want to just do quickly because we got to get out of here quickly. There was a video that went viral of Harrison Bader earlier this week when they were like, you're Mount Rushmore of New York athletes, and he didn't have any teammates on there or anyone who even played other sports. He just went Yankees,
which is crazy.
Which was a little bit annoying.
And he also put Anthony Volpe on there, which was insane.
Yeah. I also don't think he understood the question because I think he said only 3 names.
He did, yeah, he did. And Mount Rushmore is for sure 4. I know this is like the hot question. We asked Lindor that. Lindor's like, oh, God, I never wanted to be asked this question. I hate this. It's like, well, too bad.
Bader seemed really happy to answer this question and just went right down the line with fucking Yankees. So that kind of pissed me off. You couldn't put Francisco Lindor in there, dude. You couldn't do Jalen Brunson even to give us a break.
You couldn't say Walt Frazier. Just throw in someone that's not a New York Yankee.
Yeah, so that's that. And then just another media marvel. Mark and I, for some reason, we're just talking about Peter Gammons a lot on Saturday with some friends watching the Rangers season end in horrific fashion. But Peter Gammons, everyone should go give Peter Gammons a shout on Twitter because Peter Gammons is out here grinding out tweets for 10 to 25 likes. And it's pretty good information. He's just really old, doesn't know how to like space things to make them like do well on Twitter. But he had a great nugget on May 27th at 6:01 in the morning, that's probably like after his first cup of coffee, which is funny to think about. But Memorial Day is a historic first turn in season races with 17 of the 30 teams up in per game attendance. The best are the Diamondbacks, which is funny because the Diamondbacks is an interesting thing this offseason where they basically just told people you can come to every game for nothing. Like what, $3, $4 a ticket, and you could buy a full season pass, which is cool, and it's working. They've already added 9,500 fans this season. The Giants 5,100 and the Reds 7,500. And then the team who's lost the most attendance this year, I'm sure you guys could guess it because why else you listen to the show? It is the Mets.
Yep. It's can you blame them? I mean, fan engagement.
No. We're going less. Makes sense.
I did not go to a single game this homestand. That is the first time in
me too
probably 3 years that I haven't made it to one game during a homestand.
For me, it was the first time since the pandemic.
Yeah,
since I moved to New York.
I was gonna say, I think since COVID, this is the first time I have not made it to a homestand, and I honestly had a great week. I really didn't miss it at all.
So good. Oh my God, it was amazing. And even the Saturday day, like my dad and I were talking about, like let's go to Darryl. Like Darryl was my dad's like favorite player growing up. He really wanted to do it. And even that morning, there were like $25 tickets on StubHub and SeatGeek, and we were still just like, nah.
I'd say this: if the 7 line was actually Real Express, I'd consider it more. But the fact that we have to hit those like 7 stops after Woodside or whatever it is, I can't sit on that train for 5 more stops than I normally do.
No, painful. But yeah, light media marvels this week again. Mark has a flight in a few hours from JFK, so we got to move the show along. So we're going to give you guys a preview of the National Series right now. And the Nationals are coming into town sadly playing some pretty decent ball. They have been, I think, one of the, this is gonna be weird to say, but weirdly one of the feel good stories in baseball this year. And it's weird that we haven't played our division rival until June. It's so
Yep,
stupid. This god forsaken schedule that I just hate.
there
I
it
hate
is.
so much. I hate so damn much. Every single episode I'm talking about how much I hate it. But the Nationals actually did lost to Typhoon. I thought they won that game on Saturday, so I was wrong about that. Not really playing great ball, but they won their series finale against the Guardians on Sunday. They just took 3 or 4 from the Braves and won a series against the Mariners earlier this week and late last week. So again, team playing decent ball, and we're gonna get some of their best shots in the series. On Monday night, we're going to face Mackenzie Gore, who I know we don't have much time left in the show, Mark, but I could talk about Mackenzie Gore for the next 35
Of
minutes.
course,
If
yeah.
you
I mean,
want to just turn your camera microphone off, and I'll just talk about
yeah.
him for a
You
while.
can just
But
add that in when you're editing. I'll just let
yeah,
you add in you talking about Mackenzie Gores if I'm not there.
no, Mackenzie Gore is amazing. Him against Tyler McGill Monday 6:45, Tuesday 6:45. Trevor Williams versus David Peterson.
Ace off.
And yes, that's a big ace off. And then Wednesday, that's like two guys looking in the mirror. Wednesday, Patrick Corbin versus Luis Severino. Not saying anything
Ooh.
about that, but this Nationals team, a team that last year allowed the most home runs in baseball, have been acceptable for the rotation this year, mostly on the back of Mackenzie Gore. Finally ascending to the pitcher people had hoped and waited for him to be for a long time. As a left-handed pitcher, for a left-handed pitcher, I think he has the best fastball in baseball. It's just a bullet. He throws it so hard, sits like 97, 98 miles an hour. He's finally sometimes throwing it high in the zone, which I know the
Wonder why.
Nationals seem like they don't want him to do, but it also seems like he's just like, I have to do this because he gets lots of swings and misses there.
Hmm.
And just a great slider and curveball. He throws underneath, throws low. He'll get tons of swings and misses. He's fantastic. Trevor Williams has also been exceptional this year for some reason. I don't know how. I do not know why, but he has. I want to find the actual ERA because it's ridiculous. Where is it? Wow,
It's a
ESPN.
2-2.
2.2 ERA and
Yeah.
I think 1.5 in May, but it's been sensational.
It's the Trevor
And
Williams trade. We know that. We know we traded for Trevor Williams. Don't know who the other guy was. On the offensive side of things, CJ Abrams has cooled off a bit, but he's still a very good baseball player. Luis Garcia as
injured.
well has cooled off a bit, and he's a very good baseball player, but he's cooled off in the last like 2 weeks or so.
Like the whole month of May, Luis Garcia came back to life, but Abrams injured actually. Abrams,
Oh, he have
hurt.
IL?
Not IL. He might go on the IL before Monday because he didn't
Okay.
play Saturday or Sunday. He hurt his shoulder on a weird diving attempt on Friday night. And it was a really fun play in the Guardians game. The Guardians and Nationals play the game. We're like, let's see how fast each of these teams can run.
Yeah.
The two teams that love to steal bases. We're going to talk about the Nationals in a second with that. But it was like a bang bang play with Tyler Freeman at home after Abrams dove on a ground ball, hit it like a foot away from him, and then whoever was running, I think it might have been Quan. I don't remember who was running. The Guardians are a fun team. Got into second base underneath the throw. But this Nationals team loves to run. They love to run. I'm going to load up right now. I think they're either first or second in the league in stolen bases, just behind the Ellie De La Cruz led Reds. But they are going to push the Mets this week. Happy that there's no more Omar Narvaez because they're just going to go on these guys.
Yeah, they got some of the fastest players in the league. Jacob Young, sneaky 17 stolen bases this year as their center fielder.
Nationals actually are ahead of the Reds, where Ellie already has 35 steals. And Nationals still as a team have more steals than
Wait, Lane Thomas
than
has
the Reds.
15 steals this year?
And
in
he missed a
28
month.
games? What?
He missed a month. Every time he gets on base, he steals. He's not really hitting right
Jesse
now.
Winker has 10 steals?
Jesse Winker had 5 steals this week.
What?
Yes.
What does this team do? You know what? Fun baseball. Also,
They
yeah,
go out
Jesse
there and they
Winker
go
will
for
be-
it.
Jesse Winker will be back in town. You guys will appreciate that.
Well, we're going to their town.
Well,
but
yeah,
I'm
whatever. We're gonna
I'm
play.
excited. I'm almost kind of a little bit excited to play against Jesse Winker. I kind of missed Jesse Winker. The fact that he's playing well this year, I'm like, this is a nice thing. And Nationals, also for the first time, have a legitimate duo in the back of their bullpen that can shut you down any given night. Hunter Harvey's incredible as a setup man. Kyle Fingen's having an amazing year as the closer. They're not a bad baseball team. They really aren't. So Mets gonna have their work cut out for them in the series.
Yep. Guys, that's pretty much it. I know it's a short episode, but blame me for this one. We're going to give you some awesome stuff when we're out in London and England. We're going to have some really fun stuff planned to do out there. If you are going to be out for the London series, I mean, there's going to be episodes before it, but make sure you hit us up. We're going to be out there. You guys want to grab beer? It'll be a good time to meet some fans and hang out with some Mets fans over across the pond. But if not, appreciate you. Make sure you follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd Podcast YouTube channel so you can see the video version of this. And if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. Follow James on Twitter at
James_Shiano.
Draftneck Mark with a C. Thank you guys for listening and watching. We will catch you after the National Series in another country. Peace out.
Peace out. See you guys next time.